Good morning, Heidi Foy here with Bullfrog Creatives, and Bullfrog Creatives presents the NFR Hangover. You guys, this has been, it's kind of, I think all of the guys would agree with me when I say it is a love-hate relationship that we have with the NFR Hangover, because we love getting up and talking about it, and it turns out that doing something like this is a seriously big commitment. So I have to give kudos out to Jim Boy Hash, who was the brainchild behind it, but also to Tony Branquinho for sticking with it and keeping on going. I know that it's I don't know that we would survive if we were actually live in Vegas. So it's probably better that we're on our couches at home right now. You guys, thanks for tuning in. Again, you're watching the NFR Hangover presented by Bullfrog Creatives. And we have to thank our sponsors before we get to the good stuff. So I want to give a shout out to Cinch Jeans and Shirts, who is our partner, our presenting sponsor for NFR Hangover, and our partner on the Bullfrog Creatives platform also. And we also want to thank Con Williams Art Studio, who I believe has made it safely back to the Square State, or the state of Montana. And again, we do have an announcement too. We can talk about that later, but they did pick a name for the bronze that we kind of promoted all week in our platform. So we can talk about that. All right, y'all, let's get to it. Man, never before has that music been truer. Wrap up.
Just
like that's what I'm feeling like this morning.
I tell you what, I've truly enjoyed it. I got 10 out of 11 shows count, with our first one, and I enjoyed it. I've had a blast with you guys. It's been a great experience. But even my wife asked me last night, "Hey, do you think this would be something you'd want to do, like in Vegas or something?" And I really would, but I could see it. It's got to be a commitment. I give those guys props because, I mean, it's easy for me to. Not easy, but it's easy for me to jump out of bed, throw something on, get right here, and then be on my computer doing my research at the same time. But to have it planned out where you're in front of a camera and stuff, it would take a lot. So, but I have enjoyed the heck out of this.
Yeah.
I guess one thing for me is the reactions I'm getting from people, some of the things that people are learning,
Yeah.
Well,
which makes it worthwhile, because I mean, I will say I learned stuff watching the broadcast. So I'm not the know-all, be-all, end-all, but knowing what we know and also what kind of the new rodeo fan may not know, we can kind of bridge that gap. I love it. I get a lot of comments. Always get a lot of friend requests after this, which I'm like, okay, like, yeah. But I get a lot of messages too after, between now and like next year, I'll get a lot of messages. Are you guys going to do that again? What are you going to do? I really liked when, so, even if we're not on the big stage, I really liked when Luke couldn't get on. That was the funniest part of the show.
Oh my God. That was embarrassing. That was embarrassing.
He's going to hit on this show this week, I feel like.
Oh my goodness. Well, the cool thing is, and I think we figured it out and we talked about it, is our opinion. It's not going to be the popular opinion on everything. It's not going to be the sugar-coated, what they want the crowd to hear. There's going to be some backstage stuff, inside stuff, and some truth to, how we feel, what we saw, and what just real life, people that we've lived it, we've done it, we've coached it, we've produced it. We've been through all, aspects of it, and we see it from a different point of view than just a fan. So I think it brings a really good insight into what's going on, even if we're not on the ground there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, so I will, honesty is the best policy. I did watch the rodeo. And I already told the guys this, we had our, I'm going to get my little trophy here. We had because it's too cool. We had our Coldwell Banker, the Legacy Group, Christmas party last night. And I do have to give a shout out to them because I think we talked about it, but I want to give a shout out on air to my Coldwell Banker peeps because they had our show live streaming in the Agent Lounge. What day did we have Taylor on?
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
It
Thursday?
was Thursday, I think.
Yeah,
Friday. I think that was
anyway,
the day.
So they were watching. So give a shout out to them. I would say I posted about it because I think it's pretty cool to have your day job support your passion project. Tony, I feel like you probably get the same support from your work.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's always something. They said, some of us are rodeo fans, but we're all Bullfrog Creative fans. And anyways, so a shout out to them. So I was at the Coldwell Banker Awards last night, and I got this really cool. I got to get it in the middle there. I got this really cool award, this really cool trophy. Probably the coolest trophy I've ever received.
That's awesome.
And it's super heavy, but so shout out to them. So I did watch. I had my phone muted, and I had the Cowboy Channel set up like right at I think it was the sour cream bowl that was holding my phone up. So we watched. I did not catch any of the commentary because we were watching. I only had an outburst once when Riley Duvall missed his steer, and I was like, oh! And then I kind of had to look around and make sure that no one was looking at me funny. So I did watch. By the time I got the lounge to turn it on and I could get away and not do award stuff, I think it was the barrel racing. So I'm not going to be a lot of help today, which some of you might say that I'm not a lot of help anyways, so it should work out just fine.
Let's put it this way. You are the captain of this ship. You're the help that Jim Boy and I need constantly. So if it wasn't for you steering this vessel, we would have hit the iceberg a long time ago and sank to the bottom of the ocean.
I just try to keep us on track, which also is funny. So, all right, you guys, I got to get my notebook up here. So for those of you guys that watched last year, I think our round 10 was one of our most watched our round 10 wrap up was one of our most watched episodes last year. Mike Greenleaf joined us last year, and we decided because he brings such a wealth of knowledge. He's on the phone. I have to drag this out a little bit. He brings such a wealth of knowledge that we decided to have him back this year. So I'm not going to bring him into the picture until he hangs up his phone. Wasn't this a thing last year? Didn't you tell me that he's always on the phone?
Yeah, and he may have to he'll get a call that his bucking horses are out or something.
Okay, look, he's ready now.
But
we bring back Mike Greenleaf of Medicine River Rodeo. We were kind of joking about you being on your phone there, Mike.
Well, my service was coming and going, and I hope you can hear me all right when you guys were talking. But now that I'm on, the picture's a lot better, and hopefully that was my technological crew there, my freshman in high school daughter. So
yes,
she told me to shut my phone off. So
it sounds like you're better off than Luke was the other day. He's on his own trying to.
I couldn't imagine doing this on my own.
All right. Well, to start off, I have a prayer. This is compliments of Justin Rumford. This is a remix version or whatever of Bob Tallman doing the prayer at Red Bluff, and you'll kind of hear him. We've copied this off of his Rump Chat deal. He did this, he did this on his Rump Chat in Vegas the other day, but it was first responder day, and they had an ambulance, police car, and a fire truck out in the arena, and 50 responders. But I'll play it here.
Red Bluff. It was on First Responders Day. So in the arena,
can you hear it?
An ambulance, a fire truck, and a police car. And there is 50 first responders in the middle of the arena. And we were paying tribute to them. And Tom, as we look down in the arena, let's go to the Lord in prayer. In prayer. Jesus, you're good to us, aren't you? Well, we've all been there. It's a Friday. You're leaving work. You hate your job, don't you? Your boss don't take care of you. You don't like him. Your wife calls. Guess what? Guess what? She needs a gallon of milk. Well, you can't afford it. Little Susie needs a new pair of shoes. Little James wants to play summer football. You're driving home from work mad at your life. When all of a sudden, you look in your rear view, what do you see? Red, blue, lights. Guess what? You're getting pulled over. You can't afford the ticket, can you? Guess what? You're in a school zone. Here comes the officer to your window. Same old routine, license, and registration. You sit there in silence, knowing you can't afford the ticket. But guess what? The policeman comes back to your window, and today, it's a warning. It's a warning. And you know why? Because he's a daddy too. Amen.
And everybody stopped?
Not quite what we were expecting.
Not what I was. Then again, he got it from Rump Chat.
They said everybody just kind of stopped and looked around and was like, he can't, that's not a prayer. And they're like, it's Tommy. They're like, he can't do that. They're like, it's Tommy. He can do whatever he wants to do. They said that was an actual prayer he did one day.
I would not doubt it.
Listen, I have said many a prayer like that after getting a warning. So, oh, thank God.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Great rodeo last night. We'll never, I won't say never, but, it's funny how, things like that, they always say, man, this is the best ever, this is the best ever, but it was set up to be a good one, and they came through.
It damn sure didn't disappoint last night. I mean, that was every title race came down to that last run or last ride.
Mm-hmm. So, Mike, I know this is your favorite part of the rodeo. We always like to start talking about the opening production. So I watched it again this morning just so I could get the full vibe. I didn't mind the gold stuff. I will say I also, for many years, have wondered why they didn't bring in like more of the Vegas act type stuff into the openings. And I was like, we've seen them more all week. Like Blue Man Group came into some of the production stuff. I don't know. They're just, and even on our end, if you were watching the broadcasters and not the arena feed, I don't know what it looked like on your guys' side if you're watching the arena feed, but right before they would go to the rodeo, like between the opening and the performance, there would be some Vegas act that would be like, we missed you. We're so glad you're back. Welcome back to Vegas. Rodeo is going to start in just a second. And so they had different kind of Vegas acts do those intros also. I liked that. I felt like it didn't seem like so much of a separation between what usually happens in Vegas and what happens in Vegas in December. I think it was more of a collective, we're happy to have you back feeling this year. So I thought it was really cool. And they dropped those chicks in those little hula hoop things from the ceiling. I'm pretty sure that's not the technical term, but that was neat. There's no way in hell you could drop me from that high. Whew. And then the trick rider is really cool. I noticed only one of her little torches lit, which I know what that feels like. And it is crap. Like you work so hard and then only one pyro goes off. Like, yeah, dang it. So I felt their frustration there, but otherwise I thought it was a good opening.
Yeah, it felt like the openings got better.
They were listening.
They couldn't get any older country music singers because they went back to the 40s, I think, to start the week, and eventually they had to go with something modern. They had to. Well, see, I will say the only thing I didn't like is I could tell that we didn't get to watch all of the opening because Butch and Jeff were talking and it was dark behind them. So there was still something else going on that we didn't get to see. Yeah. Which is fine.
Well, I didn't mind the girls on the rings, but it'd been more entertaining if it'd been Mike on them rings.
I agree. Here.
Well, yeah, I don't know that would have been a very good deal, but I think overall and I got to be honest, I didn't get to watch a lot of the openings last night. I had a basketball game. I got home, the rodeo had started. I just kind of rewound it to the bareback riding but that's something that I think that there's a wealth of knowledge out there in some of those older contractors that may, and I don't know who sets those openings up. It'd be a hard deal to come up with 10 deals, 10 nights of it. But, you look back and I've spent a lot of time working with the Sutton family, and, Jim Sutton, there's a gold mine of information. The openings that that guy's come up with over the years and, but I think, all in all, and it's hard for me to watch on TV because, like you said, you knew there was something going on for an opening back there, but they're going to the commentators, and so I didn't make it out at all this year, so my opening advice probably wouldn't be as good as some. I did see some of the comments on social media that I know Justin wasn't overly impressed, so I guess maybe that could be his job. He could do rump chat, do his viewing party, and come up with openings. Yeah. And if he's listening, the opening we were going to do at Abbeville for their last year, which is just between him and I, would be a good one. So,
well,
I better not tell that opening over the air.
Yeah, don't be sharing that just yet. What's funny is when do we have Justin on? Sunday?
This one out in Vegas.
Yeah, we were like two perfs in, and he was already coming down hard. It's like he knew what was coming.
He's pretty opinionated. He's pretty opinionated.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think it was good. National anthem. Now, you kind of keyed this up for us yesterday. The national anthem was, I think, all week, best one all week. When you can hit that extra high note on free, you got something going there.
When she first started, I thought she forgot the words, like in the second line there, the way she said that first. I can't remember. Say, can you see by the dawns? She didn't say bye. She said something. I was like, ooh, she forgot the words already. But nah,
I've done that. It's hard.
She did a great job. So one thing I don't know. Did you get to watch much of the picnic show throughout the week and the different things? So
I tried to watch some of the pre-show, but not the.
I didn't watch a picnic show.
Well, what do they call it? The tailgate.
You say picnic, and I think Yogi Bear. Hey, let's have a picnic basket. That's what I think when you say picnic show.
Well,
I like that better. The picnic show.
The two boys they're two stats boys that the Cowboy Channel is using that came from Harvard or somewhere like that don't even have cowboy hats. I'm like, really? Y'all couldn't? Surely they could have at least borrowed the sombrero that Jade Corkle rode in the Grand Entry with last night. The one he rode. You probably seen DeMoss with his. He had a real one on, but Jade Corkle, he had one of them cheap little ones that you'd buy at Dollar General or something. I guess he autographed it and threw it in the stands. Nice. So he probably got fined for not having a hat on in the Grand Entry. But
quit having fun.
How dare you interact with the crowd?
Yeah. So yeah, I would hope that if they have them two boys back next year, I don't know. It just got to where I didn't even bother listening to their stats they had. I'm sure they had something, real in depth there, but I vote to replace them with Tony Branquinho for their stats guy. But
yeah, you've done pretty dang good for stats, especially since I'm pretty sure I threw you in like the Monday before we started.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
What are you doing next week? Okay, see you Thursday.
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right. How many horses did Pickett have? 10, I think, last night in that round. I think there was 8 or 10. I think he had 8 of the barebacks last night. That's quite a feat right there. I know his goal is to have all 15 horses in a performance there, but to to have 8 of the 10, which I'm not going to say they all were real desirable for that round, but a dang good set of horses. And like me and Mike were talking this morning, how about that finish? I mean, I think the judges got it right on 1 and 2 right there, but Jess, he laid down a ride. He had the draw and knocked one out of the park, and then Casey was like, I see your hand, I'm going to try to raise you, and it was a good finish.
That was a great finish. I mean, it was fun watching right there. And then Casey, he had 2 points on him coming in. Jess goes 92 points. So, Casey's got to be, 90 to tie and 89.5. And I mean, made an outstanding ride. I think the judges got it right. And it come down after 10 rounds, a half a point between those two for the average. I tell you what, Jess Pope, he's just like, I want to go to the NFR December every year because 2 trips, 2 average titles, and knocking on the door for a world title right there. So that young man was damn sure impressive all week. And but yeah, I think the judges got it right. Both those horses looked. I mean, you couldn't have written a better script right there. Coming down to the 10th round, last ride for your average champion, playing out the world title. But we called it yesterday morning saying Gunfire, that was on paper looked like, the better horse for just on paper. It looked like one we knew a little more about for Jess, but that new Scarlet was the real deal last night.
Mike, if you you might pay attention to some of them other contractors, and instead of raising these horses, maybe you should go to buying your way in. Maybe get a few more horses, Kippery finals or something.
Yeah. I'll talk to the bank about that Monday. Just tell them, hey, it ain't that hard. It just takes lots of zeros. But
I just need a little.
No, you're right. That bareback riding was phenomenal, and you're always going to have I think they were loading him or whatever, but if you really watch and you understand the bareback riding at all and watch the way Casey rides, it's just, and Jess is right there though. I mean, Jess, I can remember him at the high, he's from Kansas, and I can remember him when, he'd come to a few of our amateur deals and just, that's about how we made him look on our horses too, pretty much, only a little different, but he's come a long ways and looks really good. And man, he is going to have a future, but it's a testament to, I don't know if it's discipline or just the professionalism of your craft, but Casey to me looks as strong right now as he did 10 years ago. I mean, he just doesn't look like there's any slowing him down. So it's going to be really fun to watch those, that whole crew the next few years.
Well, it's weird is because, Casey was on that run, 2010, 2011, 12. I mean, he just went on knocked 4 of them out of the park, and then loses one to Richie Champion in 15. And then they had, that ERA deal, and those guys all took that year off. And then it almost seemed like Casey started to build his way back up, qualified for the finals, got back in there. Then he gets hurt, and it's almost like that little span there from 16 to 19 is like he not reinvented himself, but rejuvenated himself. And I mean, he's just going out there and putting 900% in. And I mean, he looks physically stronger than he ever has. And just, he didn't look, I mean, he's got to be sore after 10 days of getting on these ranked bucking horses. And he didn't look sore. He didn't look get off, grabbing his arm or grabbing his body. He just looks like he's in great physical condition and mentally strong. And you're seeing that with Jess Pope, what it looks like. You're seeing the present and the future with Casey Fields, but you're also seeing the future. And like I said, there's not a whole lot of bareback riders entered, but the ones that we have in the pro ranks are damn sure the real deal. They're gonna make sure the sport survives and is strong for a long time.
They better watch out for Rocker Steiner, though. It sounds like they already want to put his name on the gold buckle for next year.
They're already engraving it on there.
Yeah, they'll forget all about.
They're certainly already talking about him.
Huh?
They're certainly already talking about him.
You know that kid does ride good, and kudos to them for getting the recognition. But I have a little issue with them. You know, there's a lot of good kids out there coming up in several events. You know, and I don't know what that's all about. But there were some young kids. There was some, you know, Keenan Hayes won the permit challenge out there in the bareback riding, but there's kids in other events, and I don't know. I hate that kid will do well, I'm sure, but I can see, you know, how many comments will be made, you know, when something happens and then he has hell, and
Right.
So he's got to get through his permit year.
Right. Yeah, you got to get to his permit year. But I mean, you look at his dad. You want to talk about the ultimate hype machine in the bull? I mean, he got on ESPN's top plays. I mean, you know, Steiner's know hype sells. So
yeah.
At least he's got it. He's been on Killer Bee or Virgil.
He ain't been on Killer Bee or Virgil. Well, that's. I mean, there's a lot to it. It ain't. I mean, I don't know, but
yeah.
All right,
well, before we go on to the next event, I want to just give a shout out to Cole Reiner. I think he performed top notch all week, and you know, I told you guys I watched that video last night. I had an opportunity to rewatch it this morning with volume because I did not catch that with no volume last night and everything else going on. I totally missed that he had missed his horse out. So anyways, keep rocking it, man. You'll get there. I think he performed well all week, and to see that on the 10th round, man.
Oh, he rides good. I mean, it's crazy how, like, Tim O'Connell, I mean, I don't know what he won. It wasn't much. And he didn't look like the Tim O'Connell. I mean, a lot of them guys, and then, you know, I rewound it here a little bit, and R.C. Landingham, the disappointment in his face every ride almost. I mean, there was very few times he got off and was hyped up. You know, Richie Champion rode good all week, but it's just, you know, you come back next year and it might be Jess and Casey that don't draw good, and one of these other guys. It's just funny how the tide turns, and I tell you, I keep saying how this sport is so humbling, you know, not only to the contestants, but as a contractor as well. You might take some horses out there and be, you know, walk up there on the chutes and have your chest boat out, and they might make you look pretty stupid as well. So it's a very humbling sport, I'll promise you.
Yeah, for sure. We've talked about that all week. All right, sure.
One more kid we ought to give. I mean,
oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Nope, you're good.
Oh, I just one kid that I was really, really impressed with out there this week was Cole Franks, and there's another kid we're not talking about yet, but I think we're going to down the road. That kid was really impressive.
Yeah, he finished third in the average, third in the world.
Third in the average, yeah. Third in the average, third in the world. And, I mean, even that world standings, Jess Pope was 17,000 behind Casey to win the world. So, I mean, that's Casey placing it, you know, winning third and go round. That's somebody slipping in between him and the average had something, you know, somebody got in there between them. I mean, those guys were neck and neck all week. It was going to be, by the 10th round, it was going to be hard to do, but like I said, it was. You're right, Jim Boy. You know, either one of those guys was one horse away, drawing better or worse to changing the world title picture too. And you rodeo 365 days, or well, not technically, but it comes down to one ride, one bronc, one run, one whatever, and it was impressive. But like I say, Cole Franks, he rode great all week, and Cole Reiner, like I said, I didn't see him miss it out. That was my pro fantasy guy, and my pro fantasy team. The only thing I was hoping for is that Actually, I was hoping everybody missed last night so I could win the last place check. Hey, you were the worst person to pick a team ever in pro fantasy. But that didn't happen either. So, steer wrestling time. Well, we knew it was going to be a two-man race between Wagispack and Will Loomis. Will's got one that they were 3 on the first round, and then steer gotten away from everybody the next 2 rounds, and then he goes out and just puts a manhandling chili whopping on his 4-3. But Wagispack drew a good one and 4-2, splits third or wins third in the round, jumps up. Where did he wind up in the average here? He wound up second in the average with a barrier, and he was 5 seconds out of first, and claimed his 3rd gold buckle. And I think he beat Will Loomis by about $41,000. So Will was coming in pretty far behind him, coming into the finals. And what about the old guard? Curtis Cassidy splits around with Dirk Taverner. Dirk gets four go-round buckles for his first trip to the finals. And I did feel bad for Dirk last night because it was for Stockton, I think they said, or hey, they got Dirk over there hazing first.
Dakota.
Or Dakota, yeah. And about the time Luke says that, Dirk's horse comes up, he nods, and he's late. Dakota, wipes out, and you're just thinking, poor Dirk. He just, one of the best in the business, hazing in that building, and just have something go wrong after the commentators made a big deal about it. They put Dirk on this side for this run, and so.
And then.
But that just shows you how important a hazing horse and a good hazer is. And I'm not saying he's not a good hazer and didn't deserve it. I mean, but that's in that setup, just what little that horse came up,
Just that one little stride, it was just enough to where he was behind, and that steer beat him out of there, and it was done. So,
I mean, if I've got a few standing around here, I'd trade him for that horse if they don't like him now.
Put a call into him. I don't know what it is. Before the finals, I was talking to some guys. We were down south at the junior rodeo finals, and everybody's bulldogging critic, and Luke's done and he's retired, and he's past his prime, and I'm like, I'm not sure what his plans are. Well, the steer wrestling's changed, and you got to be lighter, and these steers have gotten smaller and faster. Man, the steers at the finals didn't look light and small at all this year. They look pretty full and big, and I don't see the steers getting smaller. So,
well, I don't really see the steer wrestlers getting much smaller either.
No, they were saying how they're just getting quicker and more athletic, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of the evolution of the event. It's
the sport.
Yeah,
in every event.
Youth always eventually prevails. But Father Time and Mother Nature are two undefeated. They're completely undefeated, so
Yeah.
But yeah, they're saying that all these steers are handling so much faster and quicker, and they're lighter. The pins they had there were pretty stout and deep. So
well, and just kind of on that topic of like physical fitness, I would say the steer wrestlers were probably the last to get on the wagon for working out and changing their diet and treating themselves like athletes rather than just cowboys. But we're starting to see it there now too. So
I think it all ends at both ends in the arena. If you want to be a champion, the days of just pure talent winning are gone. I mean, you're still going to win, but it's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And that you're seeing that now. They're putting the effort in. They're going to the gym. They're taking care of their bodies because, I mean, they can actually make a living and provide for their families if you are, at the top of your game. So.
We do have a comment from Karen Wilkinson. How many more did Dirk haze that were spot on last night? I mean, that one, they kind of called them out.
And the thing was, they weren't trying to call him out. They were setting up, hey, they brought Dirk over here to haze this one for Dakota because the steer really tries this and that, and then just to have a bad thing, just bad luck happen. But no, Dirk, he's hazed there 5 years before that. I think he hazed for Matt Reeves to to win the 100,000 at the American. I mean, Dirk's been there, done that, knows what he's doing. It's just bad luck last night.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, I know we have a lot of kind of seasoned rodeo fans, but the steer wrestling, rodeo in general, is one of those sports where, yes, you're competing against one another, but they're also your best friends when it comes right down to it. Whatever you need for anything, be it a hazer, a rope, a horse, a ride, whatever.
Well, and to back up to this bareback riding too, you see who the person was that was out there shaking Jess Pope's hand and high-fiving him for winning the average was Casey Fields.
First person.
I mean, Casey made his ride, got off the horse, and he went and he was at the gate to shake Jess' hand.
Met him in the alleyway.
Yeah, met him right there and congratulated him. I mean, that's that camaraderie those guys have. And you saw in the steer wrestling when Tyler Wegenspec wipes that steer out, the first one at the gate high-fiving and hugging him is Will Loomis. And Will knows it cost him a gold buckle. Will wins the average, but he said my best friend won the world. So,
yeah.
You saw some disappointment in guys when it was all said and done, but at the end of the day, it's not you against them, it's you against the animal you're competing on, and you've got to do the best you can do and see where the chips fall.
Yeah. What do you boys think?
On what? Which topic? You covered 4 there.
Do it. Start with 1.
Oh, I think the Bulldog, and like you guys have talked, was outstanding last night. And, if they want to talk about the size of the Bulldog, I remember a guy from California wasn't very big, John W. Jones. He wasn't the biggest guy. That he won a lot of world titles against, some of the biggest guys, going back then, and it was fun to watch Will Loomis. I mean, God, that guy is so strong, and I don't know him, but just watching him Bulldog and his technique, he is, just so good. And, and everyone out there, I mean, I haven't competed in years, so I don't know those guys like I used to, but just to watch it, I mean, their technique is picture perfect. And even probably Will looks like one of the strongest guys out there, but has some of the best technique. And, they're going to put a gold buckle on him someday. I've got a feeling. And onto the camaraderie, it is that. And like, you said you're not competing against those guys. You're competing against what they've drawn you. And, you want your buddy to do good, and then as far as the missed hays, nobody in this game missed as many hazes as I did. And I rode some of the worst horses. And I watched that rodeo all week. And if I had to run one, I'd guarantee you that's who I'd want over there for me. So anybody that wants to comment on a missed haze is obviously never done it. So
exactly.
That's my end of that.
Yeah.
Oh.
JB, what you got?
Do what?
What you got? You've been a little quiet this morning. I'm kind of worried.
I passed out in the box one morning in a slack, hazing one, so that's missing the haze really bad. That horse never scored good in his life. Oh, Corky, he sat there that morning. Greg nodded. We was at Dalhart at XIT, and everybody's telling you got the best one on him. All you got to do is nod your head. You're going to win first. And he nodded. He looked over and checked me, and he's like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then he kind of focused on the steer again, nodded his head, and I heard the gates bang, and I look up, and they're running off out across there, and I'm like, "Oh, dang!" And rode out of the box, went over and stepped off, tied old Corky up, went and laid down over in the cement bleachers for a while. But yeah, that's missing the haze right there.
Oh, that's good.
The growing up a person has to do while they're in college is unbelievable. Shouldn't tell these stories. My boys would get yelled at for something like that. But yeah. All right.
Not as I did.
Yeah. That's what makes me such a good rodeo coach. I can tell them not to do some of the stupid stuff I did. So,
listen, I've got to post this. Where'd my mouse go? Here. No making that up. Witnesses.
Greg loves telling that story too. So team roping. Let's move along. Team roping.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Andrew Ward, Buddy Hawkins set the NFR record on 10 head last night. They're
By
50,
what? I mean,
the 54.70, so they beat it by about 5 seconds, I think. But I tell you what, and then the Karen here, we're not gonna get on the Cowboy channel because I'm gonna kind of go after them. They're showing stats and showing the split screen and they this and that, and all of a sudden you hear the gates bang and then you see the empty box and you look up and Andrew Ward has spotted this steer. He might have saw that much, but it looked like he gave him the Salinas start there and runs him down there and gets it on him, and then Buddy Hawkins cleans him up. They're 6-4. I mean, but like I said, I saw that backfire for can't remember who it was about 10 years ago, where, I mean, all they had to do is go. They had 10 seconds to win it, and the header missed the barrier, getting outrun, waves it off, cost them the average in the world title. But, I mean, a record that stood for damn near 30 years, 1994.
They didn't just beat it by a little.
No, they averaged 5.4 seconds to run. And like looking back here, they placed 4th and 5th in round 2, 3rd in round 3, 5th in round 4, 6th in round 7. So they placed in 4 rounds, and then go take a $70,000 check home at the end. Win the second most coveted buckle in the pro rodeo, and that was pretty good. But we had 2 teams catch 10 this year, though. Eric Rogers and Peyton Bray, and they had, I think, 20 seconds in penalties and legs and a 30-second crossfire. So, and then
they still had a time. I mean, that's where that rule infraction. At least you still get a time.
Still get a time, and that's why they put it in. And then the world title. I mean, I don't think Caleb Driggers has ever run one that far down in the Thomas and Mack before, ever. They were 7-1 last night, little pinhorn steer, and Junior comes around and cleans him up on a when he trots right there, and they slap on their first gold buckles after being close for so many years. And you could tell it was just a businessman's run. They never panicked. They used their head, and it was, you could tell how much that meant last night when Caleb got that buckle. Just he's been chasing it for so many years, have been so close, and that was the best he's roped at the finals all the way through, except he had that one hiccup where he roped the front foot and this took him kind of out of the average, but they fought their way back to first, or to third, excuse me. And you saw, Ren Richard and Jeremy Bueller coming in. They were winning second coming in last night. They didn't have a chance to catch Andrew and Buddy, but they had an outside shot at the world. They had to go for a round because there are a few comments on Facebook. I can't believe Ren took that shot and missed him and this and that. It cost them. Well, they couldn't win the average. That was already locked up before they ran. They were running at second. They're trying to win a gold buckle. He had to lay it all on the line right there, and it didn't work out. So, but I thought the team ropers, that was a heck of a round last night. It was good pretty fast, good watching. Dustin Egaskiza and Travis Graves, they win 2 out of 10 rounds, but they couldn't get tapped off all week. When they did, it was fast, 3.5 and 3.6, but and I really thought they were going to come in and blitz them and win the world, get Travis Graves that buckles that's eluded him too, but just wasn't meant to be. And, it was team roping. It was team roping in that building, and it was, like I say, great to see that record. You hate to see a record fall, but it's been held for so long. It's great. It's nice to see not somebody, it wasn't your James Clay Smith. It wasn't, it was these guys, and that Buddy Hawkins, Andrew Rohr, both rope outstanding. Like I said, your Rams Circuit Finals champions. Buddy Hawkins, I think, has run the Rams Circuit Finals 4 times, and to see them have the arena record out the NFR, that's something that they'll cherish forever and go down in history for a long time.
Yeah. Jim Boy?
I was watching back to see where did Corkle, where'd they finish up?
They wound up in the average. They wound up winning 6th in the average. They were down 2 steers, and the world standings on the header side, Clay Smith wound up 4th, and Jade, I think, probably wound up somewhere about the same on the heel side. Jade wound up 3rd, right?
I thought they had a pretty close chance because I was like, if they really go for it, I was thinking
they had a shot, but
if everything worked out,
the way everything worked out, yeah.
Well, we had a heated discussion breakout here last night during the team roping because when Skiza went, Jayton was like, I didn't think they were supposed to throw it that fast. And because did you see the deal they were talking about before the rodeo started where I guess they told them in the contestant meeting, told the team ropers, the headers, like you can't be letting it go. You can't throw it till you're out of the box. And that was directed toward Skiza. And so Jayton's like, man, I'm afraid that's going to be in his head, that he has to back off throwing it. So yeah, I went last night, like, see, he did it. I said, no, the barrier popped. You watch it back, and the barrier popped before he threw it. But so Jayton, he's pulling up the rule, and he shows me the rule says you cannot, compete until your horse is across the plane of the box, the barrier there.
Well, so does that mean when your rope leaves your hand or when the rope touches the steer?
It can't leave your hand, and I'm guessing that rule is in place to keep them from getting it on them before the neck rope even comes off.
Right.
Yeah.
But it might be time for them to update that rule. Probably didn't have to used to worry about it too much back in the day about the, a neck rope being off and the rope going on while your horse is still in the box. And I told Jake, I said, there ain't a line judge around that's going to make that call, that he was still in the box. I mean, because, and that's just how much it's evolved. I was talking to somebody about it this summer, how much the heading has evolved and there's been guys that could rope like that forever, but it's just happening quicker now. There's always been guys that could reach and rope one, but they're just doing it so much quicker now, and I don't know. That's a rule that maybe they need to address that, as long as the barrier has popped, or it can't go on before the neck rope. And Mike can tell you, he had a rodeo this summer in Canadian Texas where what was the other Skiza? Manny,
yeah.
And Corey Kuntz. I guess they were 2-3 plus 10 and just barely broke it, I was told. Like Jalen went down to that rodeo and he roped in the first slack, and I think him and his partner was like 5th team out or something. They was one of the first few teams out, and they were like a 5 something, and it was like, he rode out thinking, that won't win nothing, but it might place, might get a check. He said, hell, they weren't even halfway through that team roping slack, that first slack, and they was already blown plumb out of the water.
Throwing rocks at him. Get out of the arena, taking too long. You're 5'2", get out of the arena, we're finding you for taking too long.
Yeah, that was a bad combination of I just got those steers and I thought they had a little more run in them than they did, and then we set that barrier got set way too short, and then we were in Canadian Texas. Oh my gosh, I felt bad for the flagger. I felt bad I hated it. It was, it was an NFR setup in a big outdoor arena and on slow steers, and yeah, it was fast. I mean, it was fast, but yeah, we won't make that same kind of a decision next year. We'll strap them out a little more.
You use a little deper part of the arena for the team.
Yeah.
Might be a handful.
Yes. Yeah, it might be. It might be. Yeah, I don't know. That team roping to me, you just watch it over the last 20, 30 years when they set that a record, back in 94 and how a 5-second run was something and a 4-second run was unheard of, or really something that.
Yeah.
And now 4-3, and they're 4-3, and you hear Joe Beaver say, "Well, they're going to be too long to win anything tonight." And you're like, man, that's they ain't made ropes any longer. I mean, we're still. It's just how far that sport has evolved to and you see a lot of guys, especially at the amateur rodeos. I get, you'll see some young guys that think they can rope that way, and one, they can, and two, they ain't mounted near that good. That's the other thing. That horsepower out there is just. I don't think the common team roper understands the horsepower those guys have out there. And there's, the top 15 head horses in the world. There's probably not 5 that weren't out there or in as a backup. Out there. It's not like there's 100 of those horses of that caliber standing out in the country, because they ain't there.
Yeah, no, well, that's you hit it right on the head right there, Mike. It's the horsepower and it's the horsemanship, them guys being able to ride them. Talk about heel horses, and I noticed it more this year in the healers box. The healers actually got guys in the corner keeping those horses off the back, so they can actually get up and get around and get a shot off before the steers get into the wall. Those horses have got to be so fast around the corner, and then they're sliding around the corner, stopping, going as fast as they can to slide and stopping and locking off runs, and that's what I really noticed is those heel horses, those healers that got them on a short rope, and those heel horses that took that steer, brought them back to them. They're the ones that finished their head horses and got things happening. You think, oh man, they're going to be 4-5, 4 flat. Just because of the way it just finished right there. So there's a lot of moving parts happening in 3.5 to 4.5 seconds.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. Keep going there, Jim Boy.
Side of bronc riding. I was just watching Cody DeMoss come down here, that horse bucked.
And that right there played a huge role in the world standings right there.
Yeah.
That right there played a huge role. Maybe not as much as they said last night, but because he was winning 4th coming in and bucks off, and he winds up 7th. Yeah, he wound up 7th in the average.
That,
Yeah.
I don't know. That might have been his final hurrah. I don't know. I think he's got some. I know one girl at home that's starting to compete more and go more, and things might be changing for him. He's getting a little age on him. I don't know.
With 15 trips, I'd say that's a pretty stellar career.
Yeah.
Super
And that
impressive.
horse was going to buck most of them off last night. I mean, that he didn't come off a layup. I mean, that horse bucked, had a lot of drop, and he wasn't. It didn't look like to me, he was just trying to D up and get his average check. I mean, he was going at that horse, and that son of a gun bucked.
Yeah.
That was just an outstanding round, I thought. I mean, the horses top to bottom were, phenomenal, and Stetson's ride. I mean, he left it all out there. I mean, there wasn't anything. What it looked like to me, I was sitting at the house by myself. My family's still at the ball game, and I'm, I was excited. That was just a really, really good bronc ride.
Yeah, like I say, you knew he was going to leave it all out there. He already had the all around sewn up. Well, like they said on the telecast in August, but. He had that. He wanted a saddle bronc world title buckle to go along with everything, and he put a ride together last night. Say if he got bucked off, it was going to be because he was leaving it all out there every jump, and unfortunately for Brody Kress, he made a great ride, 87 points, but just wasn't enough horse, and he needed to place the round. I think he wound up being 18,000. Stetson had 343.5 and Brody had 325.
You got someone from the peanut gallery calling you out there, Mike. I can say that.
Oh yeah. Sean. Okay. No, he wasn't. No, 93. But wait, what did they score him? I guess I don't even. I know he won the round.
He was not. They scored him 93.
Tied the record.
Well, I had him 92.5. So, I'm giving the guy the benefit of the doubt, Sean. I mean, come on. Where did you have him? 74? I mean,
with an option.
Yes,
74th an option.
With an option.
Yes. Listen, I was pulling for Brody because I feel like he's been there and rode so consistently and been close. Like he's been on the cusp so many times. So, I mean, I would say that they really, really challenged Stetson. Obviously, he walked in with that all around, but those saddle bronc riders showed up and stuck it to him this week. I mean, they made him work for it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and you can see, Brody has won the average 3 times. That's an amazing
monumental
feat
in itself.
Yeah, but you could just see the disappointment in his interview, and rightfully so, because he rode his heart out all week, made some great rides, and it came down to just not having enough horse. And when you're 87 points on Flirtatious and it's not enough horse to get a go-round check, say Stetson 93, Dawson Hay 90, Ryder Wright 89.5, Chase Brooks 89.5, Zeke Thurston 89, Spencer Wright 88. That's your last hole. But here's the kicker. Ryder wins third, or splits third, 89.5. Stetson beats him by $1,200 for the world title.
Oh,
$1,200 is all the difference was. If Ryder is 90 and splits second and third instead of third and fourth, he's your world champion. He beats his brother. I mean, $1,200. So that was
what was it? Half point?
Half point, 89.5 and 90. So a half point, cost Ryder Wright a third gold buckle.
So we talked about Flirtatious yesterday. I mean, he's a strong horse.
He's very strong horse. Mike and Jim Boy can talk on this better than I can.
Let's talk about that. Did he perform, or there was just others that outperformed?
He wasn't as strong as some of the other horses out. Got it.
That's the deal out there. Those horses are just like people. I mean, they're going to have an off day. That's a tough setup out there. So that talked about that wasn't, obviously wasn't one of the strongest horses out, but I thought overall that's just, it's a good spin of horses, and you're going to have horses go out there that aren't going to. How come you're laughing? You're smiling.
Because my husband is in here taking pictures of me standing in wonky places in our room.
Okay.
So
hey, what y'all doing all the time?
Yeah. Maybe we need more camera angles. I don't know.
No, we definitely don't. I can't. I mean, it probably wouldn't be funny, but she's not quite ready for the day yet, so that's what makes it funny.
But no, I think the horse in that bronc riding was just and that's what's fun about it is we can sit around for the next year and talk about ifs and buts and but as a fan, and that's ultimately what I am. I mean that's just as good as it gets. I mean, they were just that was.
Yeah, I was watching Brody's ride back here. I got to it finally, and that horse started out just nice, like something I'd want at my bronc, jump and kick and no swoops, and then just kind of weakened off at the end and got in a tight little circle there, and that's what kind of cost him there. But I was at one of the earlier rides was Wanchuk on Feather Fluffer laying down, taking him laying down, and for one, he had a hell of a spur out on a horse laying down. That's not easy. That horse bucked, and I don't think he won a check in the round.
Yeah.
So it was a tough round. I just watched Dawson's ride back a little bit ago. That was a jam up ride right there.
Yeah.
That ride that Dawson had is going to win most rodeos. But yeah, Brody's 87 right here, and I'm surprised he is that much really, because that horse kind of let off there at the end.
Yeah. Well, Mike, you're right. I mean, as a fan, you couldn't ask for a better week in the saddle bronc riding. Well, and honestly, across the board, like the front runners coming in, they didn't have enough lead to just run away with it in any event, and so it was fun to watch all week.
Yeah.
All right. Now what?
Tie down roping.
Tie down roping.
I mean, what a story for Caleb Schmidt after last year, having to sit out because of COVID positive test, and to come back and come in kind of middle of the pack. And then, he's won the gold buckle 3 times, and he's won the average every year. He's won the world. And last night, his interview talking about his horse, I mean, he said that he rode that horse all 7 years at the finals. It's just, I mean, that's a storybook ending to, from what happened a year ago. But I mean, that guy, he ropes sharp anyways, but I mean, there was just no backup, and you could just see when he put those 2 wraps and a hui on that calf, he knew it was a done deal. It was over. And just you could see this just relief and joy just flood him, and it was really awesome. I want to say John Dowsh snaps off and finally, gets it all together, 7-4, thinking, okay, I'm not going to the South Point, but I'm going to get a go-around buck for my first NFR. And then the real Marty Yates finally showed up. The real Marty Yates showed up, and the only 6-second run of the rodeo, 6 and 9. And I mean, he blitzed one. And, that was 8-7, wins last hole. Haven Medjid had a solid finals.
Yeah.
He came in 11th. I think he wound up 3rd in the world.
Yeah.
It was typical tie down roping at the NFR. And, when it started, and Shane Hanchy with losing his horse 2 weeks before the NFR started, and then he comes out and wins the first round, you're thinking it's in the cards for him. It's meant to be. And then his week it kind of went downhill from there, and he never got back on track. And he last night curling that hind leg and getting the whistle. He went from winning second the average to where, he
8th.
He wound up 8th. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to talk about not just a gold buckle hit, but that's a $60,000 get to the pocketbook. So, and Haven winds up winning second the average. Corey Solomon had ran that calf down there, and that calf struggled, kicked on him a little bit. He wins 3rd. Weston Hughes is 4th. Tuff is 5th. Marcos Costa 6th, and Marty wound up 7th, and Shane was 8th. So, but it was typical NFR calf roping. It's always a battle, always a race, and just it was good watching. It's cool to see Caleb get that buckle, because not only with the COVID deal, but with the deal with the family and everything last year, that he went through a lot. The whole family's gone through a lot, so it was kind of nice to see it turn out for him.
Yeah, good deal. All right, Jimbo, I know you're like our resident barrel racing expert, so.
That hard. It ain't. I can draw you a map. You go around one way, another way. And,
your diagrams seem to work well. So
yeah.
Solving all the problems.
I don't know. I guess the ground was good. They liked it. It was fast, I guess. Haley hitting a barrel last night, you're like, whoa, she did that 2 years ago out there when Emily had a chance to win the world. Emily went first, and then Haley come behind her and hit one. Who would have thought it?
Yeah.
How much craziness would that have thrown in the mix if Jordan would hit a barrel? And I thought it was close. I mean, she didn't really back off. I mean, she might have just made a business run, but that's pretty cool
The
for her.
run. Again, we need to get our in with the Cowboy Channel and get them to do the ghost camera on that.
on her 2 best runs, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I quit taking notes. My last note I had was Pendleton tastes good. After Emily hit that barrel last night, I just quit taking notes. I just wrote down.
Downhill from here.
But I don't know. You feel bad for Lisa Lockhart. It's cool just to get her back. Did she finally won a decent check last night? I think.
Yeah, last night. Let's see. Lisa won third. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know. I'm sure Tate Eck is not watching, but they're pretty high on the girl from North Dakota. I don't know how much she won. She had a good looking run last night and still just didn't clock.
Yeah.
That horse looks nice and smooth, and but
she wins 56,000 out there in the average.
Well, I'd take that.
Yeah.
And the good thing for her, she didn't spend money on the limo going to South Point, so she saved money there. I mean, because most people may not know this, but especially the first timers, that's kind of a big deal. If you went around and all your friends, you meet up at your hotel wherever you're staying, and you take the big limo ride. I did a pole dance with Casey Coletti's grandmother in one of them one night. It's a lot of fun going to the South Point and with your friends. So
probably not for Casey Coletti's grandmother, but probably not for Casey Coletti's grandmother.
She will never get in a limo again.
Did you see Kendra Santos' post yesterday or the day before about young boys, young men be cautious with women?
And somebody lost their liver?
Huh? You didn't hear about that? Back in the old days, that was a thing. 20 years ago, wasn't it, Tony? Probably a long time ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah, that was a thing. Like you would there'd be a girl get friendly with you in a casino or whatever, and you go to a room, you'd wake up without your liver. They're selling them on the black market,
Well,
I had two real friendly ladies approach me years ago.
Sure.
Do what?
I mean, it makes sense to put that warning out there. We all know sometimes we're not thinking straight when you're in Vegas.
I like how she said something about thinking with the wrong head.
That's accurate.
But a few years ago when I was out there, I don't know, I had two ladies approach me and we was on this bus going down the strip. I was going from the Mirage trying to get to the MGM, and that was when I was going to find Casey, and these two ladies were on the bus with me, and we get off the bus there, and I'm like, well, how do you get over there? We're talking, just chit-chatting, and they're like, well, we're headed over there. We'll show you the way. Okay. And so they're trying to talk me into going and doing some shenanigans, I guess. And I don't remember what they told me. They said something about money, and I said, y'all couldn't afford me. Y'all have too much fun. But yeah, that is a thing out there. You got to be careful where you wind up.
I also feel like Cowboys might not be the best target for a healthy liver.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I don't know if they've done their research, but
be like, we wanted a better one, not worse. We're not going to discipline anybody.
Yeah, it might be a little tainted that week out there, especially that week.
I don't know. I also feel like she should have posted that like last Thursday.
Yeah.
So did something happen that made her post that?
I don't know.
I
I'm gonna guess something might have happened. I don't know.
was gonna say I hadn't heard anything, but yeah, I for it to all of a sudden
That's
be
a
out
little
there.
behind the scenes.
That was when we had boots on the ground with Jim Boy in town.
Yes, then we would have known.
Oh,
Christy Peterson and Jordan, the first mother-daughter duo to win the world. It was asked on Facebook, has there been a grandmother, mother-daughter? And that was close with Janae Ward. Her grandmother won the world, but not her mother. But yeah, that was pretty neat. That girl, she's got a nice one there. I got a few more on here.
I'm kind of excited. I can't wait I'll be watching her a little bit closer throughout the next season.
what about the stat that she said when she did her interview?
Yeah.
Not only not hit a barrel at the finals, did not hit a barrel all year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she said last night, she goes, I didn't want to say anything. I was kind of holding back on making that comment until we were done. But she goes, now I can say we didn't hit a barrel all year long.
Holy cow.
I would go to a local little gymkhana, trot out there and kick the first barrel over just to get it out of the way.
Get it over
That's
with.
exactly what I was thinking.
Okay, pressure's off. That record's gone. Okay, now move on. I mean, I just pony loaf out there and just kick it as hard as I could with my left. Okay, we're done.
I don't know. Just run into it.
Yes.
Make it a good one.
I just want to head on that horse because, I think that horse is a rope horse fraternity champion head horse too. So that horse just looks amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. And I'm excited to see, like I said, to see what happens next year. I think a lot of girls, and Haley too, and I've not seen her become, she's still very humble given what she has done with barrel racing. And I feel like now that there's somebody out there that can challenge her, I mean, there has been for a while with Emily and Chongo, and she's not come into it and run away with it for a little while. So I don't know. I think the field has opened up a little bit more.
And I mean, Haley, I mean, she won the world in 18, 19, 20, was runner-up to Nelly in 17. Mm-hmm. Sister's been, won the American with the first time in 15 or 16. That horse is amazing, but eventually, I mean, and something is measured in hundreds of seconds. You don't want to say they lose, and I don't think Sister's lost a step, but the pack has closed the gap, I guess is what it is. And people are always looking to get, find a faster horse. Or I tell you, the other horse that I like is that the little yellow horse, Lemon Drop. That horse, it just looks like perpetual motion, and the more a run goes, the faster that horse gets. It's like it's just creating its own energy, its own
vortex.
Yeah, exactly.
Right around that barrel, man. And she is fun to watch.
I mean, it kind of reminds me, like, when I get out there and run, I'm just like a vortex moving really fast in slow motion, moving really fast.
Exactly what I was thinking. Exactly what I was thinking.
I'm like thunder and lightning combined in one big slow motion ball. Just
so many things.
And we'll just cut that right there. There we go.
And how about some bull riding?
Woo!
Yeah. The bull riding, I find it interesting that, throughout the year, a lot of them rodeos will use 3 bullfighters. At the beginning of the week, they have 3 bullfighters. One goes down. They go ahead and get Nate there. You can see Nate standing there outside the gate, and they still only use 2.
And it almost got a couple guys hurt last night. Yeah. I did not get it.
Why fly him in if you're not going to put him to work? Like just in case somebody else gets hurt?
Yeah. That's the only way he was going to go in there was if one of the other 2 sure enough went down. But But just like,
I
you know,
kind of
what
want
if
Wasey to fill us in on that now.
what if when Webster got thrown down the out gate, you know, he got thrown down the alley. What if that kid would have been hung up still, and then he's out of commission, and then it's just Harp out there? Well, then they got to open the gate and let Nate go running out there when he could have prevented something. I don't know. Just to me, it just seemed like, really, come on,
Get him out there.
Yeah.
You know, if it's that important to have 3 at the beginning of the week, why isn't it just as important to have 3, especially when Braden Richardson is getting on chiseled? You know? You're sitting there thinking, okay, how's this going to go? Which that dude started him. Golly,
He did.
He warmed him up for sure.
I'm thinking, all right, he's gonna go back to back and win 2 rounds. And
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't know if you watched. They had a deal on the Picnic Channel about the most memorable moments. You know, did y'all ever see that? They had the Hawkeye getting thrown into the chute, the Cody Ole, Charmaine running bridleless. You know,
they did a tournament style down to the end
and come down to the end, and I think it wound up being Cody Ole busting his leg up and tying a calf down. But now you have a new one in there, Tuckness breaking his leg. That will go down as one of the most memorable moments, probably.
Yeah, it was gross. So I did call Wasey out. I'm not sure what the reasoning is or was, and it wasn't clear to the director either. Who is the director this year?
Blue Jeans is the bullfighting barrelman director who retired just last year from bullfighting and getting into more announcing, but I think he's the director. But I don't know, it's just one of them deals that that I think the PRCA is still going to need to work on. If you have people in a position, utilize them, let them have some input, you know, maybe not all just Las Vegas events. I don't know. Did you notice the MGM? I don't know. Well, you probably didn't see it, but they did have they were a sponsor, I guess, somewhat, but there was no viewing party at the MGM this year. I don't think there was near as many, if any, contestants that had the MGM patch.
No, well, I found out a little bit about that because Luke was sponsored by him, you know, him and Trevor and that whole crew. And when COVID hit, they kind of pulled all their big time sponsors. I think they might have been a host hotel, maybe for the tie down ropers, maybe. I can't remember. I just saw some pictures of guys signing, but they kind of pulled away from that. They're not a major sponsor like they were.
So it might take a while for several of them hotels and casinos to get back on board.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, was there a big drop in sponsorships?
I don't know how. I mean, the only reason I know about the MGM is because of, you know, Luke being on their team and part of their deal. And for the longest time, he was always on social media, on his platforms promoting, you know, hey, go get your NFR rooms at the MGM, this and that. And I didn't even know about it till I was talking to my parents earlier in the week. And because usually he gets them a room where they're at, and they were at, I can't remember where they were. They said, well, what about the MGM? He goes, no, they dropped all the Cowboys, you know. It's because before the MGM, remember they had the NRS World there. I mean, the MGM was trying to be the hub, the spot of it. Not anymore.
So how does that normally work? I mean, is there like a host hotel for each event?
Yeah, they're usually one of the hotels is the host hotel for the Cowboys for certain events. But what I think is happening too, a lot of the guys, especially guys with family, I think they're Airbnb or VRBOs, you know, where they could actually get away from everything, stay together and not live out of a hotel room. And
that's what Stockton did with his family. I know he told us at his rodeo there a month ago that they just kind of go off the grid and get a little quiet place for the family to. You know.
I know Kyle Lockett in 2019, Kyle Lockett did the same thing. And I mean, you know what? People, especially dealing with that Vegas crud stuff going around, if you can avoid being in the recycled air of those casinos and those hotels, that probably help a bunch.
I don't know if you've seen my post last night, but a good friend of mine, an older lady. She went to the hospital last night out there with COVID.
I did see that.
I saw
How is
that.
she doing?
She's doing better this morning, so hopefully she comes out of that okay. She don't need that aggravation, but
Yeah.
No, nobody does.
we'll get back to the bull riding. But while we're kind of talking about sponsorships, Tony made a deal. He kind of called out Ram Rodeo last night.
Hey, I tell you what, $20,000 voucher, cool. They can get the grill.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so, but they didn't announce it like that, because I heard Jeff and Butch talking about that Top Gun award. And so explain what the Top Gun award is.
So the Top Gun award, I think they started it, it's been maybe 10 years or longer now. And it's the most money won in one event at the finals.
Okay.
At the finals. And I mean, in 2019, there's pictures of Clayton Bigelow doing 90 down the freeway headed home in his brand new crew cab dually Ram Top Gun. You know, got his world championship saddle in the back seat, got his buckle, and videos of somebody goes, hey, to his dad, Russ, hey, there goes your kid in his new, you won this truck. They gave you this truck. And so you think Top Gun, that's awesome. And then last night they kind of just slid it in. Oh, yeah, $20,000 voucher for the Top Gun. And I'm like, hold up.
And that
Wait a minute. $20,000 voucher. Okay, they can get a Dodge Dart.
When Jeff and Butch were talking about it in the beginning, showing kind of who our front runners were for that award, I am pretty sure they said awarded a pickup.
That's
So
I think it's like Tony said, I think if they got a $20,000 voucher. So if they can do that 2 more years in a row, they can buy a really nice used pickup. So
yeah, I mean, probably get a good deal on a probably 2017 model.
Yeah.
It's probably
yeah,
$300,000 on it. But well,
we don't make darts anymore.
damn it! You might have to go get it.
No.
I'll just say this. I know they're not cheap, and I know it's been a rough couple of years, and I'm sure they haven't sold as many pickups.
They
And
haven't made as many.
for those that don't know, Ram Rodeo is not really a part of Dodge Ram brand, right?
I'm not. Yeah, I think that it's its own separate redheaded stepchild entity type.
It's owned by a family, an individual, and so
I
it's
did not
not
know that.
it's not really backed by. They're tied together, but it's its own separate entity.
They're the same but different. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure they've had trouble. But you see all the lots that are missing vehicles. They say there's computer chips we can't get from China or whatever now, so they're all sitting out there waiting. I don't know.
But they're probably about 20 miles away from me off the coast out here. Yeah. Swim out there and grab a few chips.
But I will say this: I am one person who is brand loyal. I mean, Pendleton supports PRCA, so I'm going to support Pendleton. And other things, not just that, but Ram is the brand for pro rodeo, for high school, college rodeo, little britches. So that's why I try to go buy a Ram when I need to or want to spend that much. Thankfully, my last one's working good right now. Still, cross my fingers, but I don't know. I have a good friend of mine that keeps telling me just go buy a truck. That they work a lot better and they're a lot cheaper. But all I'm saying is, when you hear things like that, you're like, come on, maybe next time I won't be as diehard to go buy a Ram. I don't know.
Oh, they better watch out because No Bull Bill might try to jump in there and be Ford Top Gun Award or something.
Man, his commercials, whew. We're talking about him.
It was different from learning about Edler's dad, or Edler.
I felt like I should get invited to Christmas dinner to Edler's. Honestly,
I know as much about Edler's I wanted to know.
Yeah, but listen, does anybody remember who was the sponsor for that ad?
No.
Okay.
Nitrogen company.
Yes.
All right.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be buying any of it. Go back to the bull riding.
Oh yeah.
So it came down, to a battle between them. And kudos to Josh Frost. That's cool. He didn't even ride a bull the last time he was there, and to come back and win the average, that's pretty cool. And
wind up your reserve world champion. I mean, that's, you know, and he was only, I mean, he's only $50,000 away, but Sage had such a lead coming in on those guys that, you know, and Sage didn't have a bad finals. He wound up second or third in the average and placed, you know, Sage placed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's 6 rounds and had a decent finals. But yeah, Josh Frost, you know, after going 0 for 10 the first finals and starting out bucking off the first 2, you know, that was a comment they made going into round 3. You know, he's rode, this is his 13th trip and he hasn't got a score and hasn't won a check, and then placed in that round, bucked off in round 4, and then rode everything after that. That's pretty cool, pretty exciting for him. But the way the Sage finished it out, 88 points, split second and third, to get his 7th gold buckle, you could just tell the relief on his face at the end of that ride too. And, you know, he said it was one of the hardest years yet. And he knows he's gunning for Donnie Gay's 8 gold buckles. He wants 9. He wants to tie the record and beat it. But he also knows that the youth that are coming behind him, these guys behind him, Stetson, you know, this Creek Young. That Creek Young is a gamer. He's going to be around for a long time. The Clayton Sellers, he came in number 3. He had an awful finals, but that kid can ride. So Sage knows it's not going to be a cakewalk to try to get 2 more gold buckles. You know, but can you imagine you've made 8 trips to the NFR, and you've got 7 gold buckles? That is legendary in itself right there.
Yeah.
But we all know what a little kid will do to you when you're rodeoing.
That's true.
It's going to make it harder for him to leave home, you know.
Yep.
I was surprised. I was watching yesterday, and they had Samuel Connell on, and I didn't realize, I guess they kind of got an RV deal, and she basically took off, went down the road with Tim, you know, and so they'd all be together. And that makes it tough, you know, especially in the summertime. I think that's maybe more in the wintertime, but, you know, I guess Sage is set up a little bit better than a lot of people to make it work. You know, but I don't know. It'll be, so this made 7 for him.
It's made 7. He get 1 more to tie Donnie.
Well, he's still got it in him, you know.
Oh yeah, I don't see him not tying Donnie and quite possibly having. I think honestly he wants 10. He wants this, you know, nice round number.
And the difference is, me and Mike talked about this morning before we got on. You know, the difference is Donnie had to ride and win. That was his only income. You know, Sage, he's set up a little different. He's got some other support system. Donnie's support system was a rodeo company, and we all, you know, anybody in the business knows how profitable that is.
So he had to supplement the rodeo company by winning the bull riding.
Yeah, probably so.
Mike
Wasey wants to know if you're awake. You've been pretty quiet.
I'm just taking it all in. I'm just taking it all in. It's yeah, I'm still here, but no, I mean, I guess my comment about the bull riding, just to go back to what these guys have said, it was really good. You know, I called Jim Boy the first round, and I was like, holy cow, you know, they just made that bull riding look way too easy, you know, and nobody's complained more than me about them, you know, not riding bulls out there at the finals. But the first round, I was like, oh my gosh. And then, you know, I don't know, it's like the bulls got their feet again. Because when that pen of bulls was out, the next, I don't remember what round that would have been. You know, they didn't ride near as many that night. But it was a good bull riding, and it just it shows you, you know, the dedication of Sage to do what he's done, because nobody's come close to that record. I mean, I don't even know what is the second most bull riding world titles. Man. Now, where are you at, Wasey? Are you awake? I know you know that.
4. He says 4.
Okay. So, you know, that's not even, you know, close. And And so for Sage to do that, to get 7, and hopefully he'll keep going. But like you said, Tony, there's so many of these young kids coming up, and I'd like to think JB Mooney's going to come back again, and hopefully he, it'd be fun to have watched that rodeo with a healthy JB Mooney. But
Yeah.
It sold a lot of tickets because that was a lot of coffee talk about well, JB's going to show them, and JB's no doubt one of the greatest bull riders ever, but that's a grind out there, and then back to Josh Frost, that was rodeo, college rodeoed in this region, and just there was so much for me. If you were a young kid looking to get into the rodeo business or looking to go compete for a living or try to, that you could watch that every event and just look at, in the timed events, the dedication you better have, the horsemanship and the horsepower you've got to have. I don't care how good you are. The rough stock, that's your body. Those guys that are taking care of themselves, and I'm definitely a guy who never did, but those guys that they're in better shape than they ever used to be. They're, it's at the end of the day, and you said it earlier, Tony, it's hard work, and that's what, it really, to me, it stuck out at the finals this year. Those guys that just, I don't know. That was one of the best rodeos I've seen.
Well, I think I haven't been there since 2019 and not behind the scenes since Luke's last year qualifying in 15. But I bet you now, when Luke first qualified in 01, we were there, my brother Casey and I, we were there. And you go out and you'd see guys that, they'd be out at drinking and partying, not all the contestants, but they were out having a good time, and then they'd sleep during the day and go to the rodeo at night. Well, as their commitments became more and more the contestants and honoring their sponsorship, what they had to do, I think you've seen a turn to how these guys are going back. They're taking care of their bodies, or they're getting their workouts in. They're not staying out. And I'm not saying all of them, but the ones that are the contenders are the ones that know that this is how they make their living, and they can go party in Vegas. If they want to stick around and party, they can do it now. The rodeo's over, stick around, hang out, whatever. But you're just seeing these guys take it as serious as a business. And I think you're seeing that out on the road more and more too. These guys are hitting gyms. They're taking care of themselves. I'm not going to say there's not as much beer and whiskey in the rigs as before, but there's more supplements. There's more protein powders. These guys, the top of the game, and they know they want to stay there because there's a lot of hungry people coming behind them. They're putting all the effort they need to, their max effort, to become the best, stay at the top of their game, and have long careers, because you know what? There's nothing like it in the world to be a rodeo cowboy. And if you want to do it for a long time, be successful at it, you've got to treat your body like a temple, like Jim Boy and I have done for years. And
couldn't even say it. Couldn't even finish it without laughing.
No, I lost it. I think you're seeing more and more of that. We saw that with Doug and Logan on here talking about it. And I've started following Doug and Logan on Instagram, Champion Living. And they were behind the sines, and they've got
a lot of guys
that they work in. And I tell you what, I preach that to my 14-year-old daughter, and we try to go to the gym, and it's not about what you do in the practice arena and on the dummy. And we ride your horses, we keep them in shape, keep them legged up. You've got to start doing it physically yourself. And like I say, I know I'm living that the last year and a half with that transformation anyway. So I'm trying to bring my daughter along, but I'm going to hook up with Doug and Logan because I think they could benefit me just in life in general. But the best in the world, the top 15 in every event have learned to utilize their horses and their bodies and their minds. And I think rodeo is just going to continue to grow, get bigger, faster, stronger, and sky's the limit.
So what I would add to that too, Tony, is that, I mean, we've talked about it on this platform before at some point, and I think it does have to do with the fact that now we're looking at cowboys and cowgirls more as athletes and how to, not just in the physical sense of keeping in shape, but also running your rodeo business as a business and not just as a hobby. I'm going to go to these rodeos, I'm going to do these things. Like now you have multiple sponsorship contracts to navigate. And what do those obligations look like? And how do we stay on top of that? But there's just so much more. So like you said, maybe that's when everything kind of started to change, when those athletes started having individual sponsors and the obligations during the NFR changed. So then our nightlife has to change. But then, I mean, I think it's all kind of related, and we've seen it progress over the last 10 years to what it is now, where now platforms like this, athletes can have individual sponsorships, can have individual patch programs, and what comes along with that? How do you keep up with that? How do you maintain your schedule and still keep on top of your rodeo game? Like it's all kind of intertwined, I think, at this point.
It's layered upon itself, and these guys that are at the top of the game that have these sponsors know there's young kids out there. They're hungry, they're looking, and you've got to produce for your sponsors, and just at the trailer lot that I run, and I've had kids come in. I want you to sponsor me for high school rodeo, and it becomes a teaching moment. I get to be a teacher again because. No, and I'll sit them down and say, it's not what can I do for you, is what can you come in and offer this company? So we want to put a patch on you so you represent us. Mm-hmm. And you've seen the rodeo world evolve from, you want me to be the best roper in the world to I can throw a dart in the middle of the desert Arizona and find some of the best ropers in the world. What are they going to bring to represent, your company or your program? And the ones that are learning it in college, or getting taught it at home through high school, that's what's going to grow our sport too, and get it out to the mainstream public, because we need people that are articulate, that can get on camera, get on social media, and not just be reactive and not be emotional if somebody gets on them about animal welfare. We need people that can go out there and explain what rodeo is, the heritage of it, the history of it, and the future of it. And that's what, our sponsors are looking for. And that's what these rodeo athletes that are representing us now. You look at Casey Fields when he got interviewed, Stetson, everybody that got interviewed last night, they were articulate. You understood what they were talking about. And it's great to see how far rodeo's coming involved in that aspect too in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still love Sandvik's interview of chew running down his mouth.
There's some classics.
I miss them days too.
For Spencer, right? The year he won the world, you could tell he was just petrified. It reminded me of Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. I want to thank my sponsors, and my hands are in the way. I don't know what to do.
Oh my goodness. Well,
it's been a long 11 days.
Also, like those interviews back in the day, like that's why we watch them, because we know like these guys don't get mic shoved in their face very often. How are they going to respond to this? Like there was kind of an entertainment value to that. And I also see, what you're talking about too, Tony, like these guys are the spokesman for our industry, for the Western way of life, for, so if they can represent a little bit better than maybe what they used to, it's definitely going to help the industry.
Well, it just seems like, like anything, rodeo's always been behind it evolving, but feels like we're trying to fast track and catch up right now. And just this NFR, and once again, the Cowboy Channel, RFD TV, 10 nights of the NFR. And I didn't watch the arena feed. I watched the TV feed. But the commercials, they didn't go to commercials till, event was over. before, like say when it was on ESPN, I remember watching the team rope and you'd watch 3 and come back and, oh yeah, well we were away, 17 teams ran, and you're like, wow.
That's the world record. Sorry you missed it.
Yeah, it was just it's the evolution of where rodeo is right now and where it's headed is amazing. One of the funniest things, and I cannot get off here without saying it, is who else thought that was Patrick Gotch's granddaughter?
Obviously, everybody and their dog, or they wouldn't have said, like, was that why they brought him on?
No, and then they did. I saw that interview, Butch's interview or Jeff's interview with him 3 times yesterday. They replayed it 3 times, but I'm just sitting there. And he's just like, I got to clarify that, she's my late life blessing. She's my daughter, Rose. I love her to death. And I'm just like, oh, how many people walked up and say, your granddaughter's so cute. Your granddaughter's so cute.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that was kind of funny that they made that clarification. I will say we do criticize the Cowboy Channel on here, but I think we criticize everything that we can. And the Cowboy Channel, I mean, we're thankful for the Cowboy Channel because I'm seeing more of the NFR than I have ever seen before. And if I'm at work or somewhere else, then I can watch it on my phone. See what I did there?
Yeah.
And I can watch it on my phone. So, like, I'm grateful for them. I think they've been equal opportunity. Monty says we're equal opportunity critiques.
Well, yeah. I mean, you want to make sure,
Got to be fair.
Yeah.
You want to hear Mike's take on the Cowboy Channel?
Yes.
No. And so to me, the Cowboy Channel has done so much to bring rodeo to the world, but I think there's like everything. It's just like the people talking about the openings and stuff like that. Well, that's something that they can work on, and we love it. We're true rodeo fans. We've all done it. It's part of our lives. But the people at home, the spectators, is who we got to. That's who we're trying to bring in, because we're going to be fans of this stuff, no matter if it's in Vegas or if it's in our backyard. I mean, we're always going to be involved with the NFR or watch it or whatever. But, I think, and I'm not running the Cowboy Channel down because they've done so much. But I just think they're going to learn as we go. And I'm sure next year will be better than this year. And, there's some things in rodeo that, they're kind of hard to watch. And, I think it'll get better. But, I can – one particular deal, it was early in the year and it was televised, and I had guys calling me, oh my gosh, that guy announcing's the worst guy in the world. Well, he's not. I know him. I've worked rodeos with him, and he's a good announcer. The problem was he was the only thing we could hear on television, and you couldn't hear the interaction with the funny man or see the interaction with the crowd. And I realize it takes money to do stuff like that and to bring crews and do that thing. And that's the only thing that I'm sure it'll get better as we go, but that's my comments, I guess.
I mean, and I don't know how much this is true, but I heard like some of those were high school AVF clubs that were, doing the video for, videoing them
for them,
for the Cowboy Channel or getting it to them. So,
and I think that's right. And I'm pretty sure that's right on this case. And, so I guess the way I look at that, the people in the rodeo business want to be pretty critical of that. The people who aren't just don't think it's that good to watch.
Right.
So, I think, and that's the thing, you're not going to be able to send a fully trained professional crew to 100 rodeos.
No, there's no way.
But no, overall, the Cowboy Channel, I don't remember what year it was that Jim Sharp had gone 9 for 9. He had the bull of the year. And right as, if he rides the bull, he wins the world. And if he gets bucked off, he doesn't. And he nods his head and they go to a damn.
I think it was midget giant ski slalom.
Yeah. Midget hurling or something like that. I mean, God. And we didn't have internet back then. We had dial-up.
You had no idea what happened.
No, we didn't know forever. I
remember like I could vividly see it in my mind. He slides up And all of a sudden it just cuts off, and he's not only going to win the world, he's going 19. He's 19 for 19. He's going to go 20 for 20.
Yeah.
And I mean, all of a sudden, and then nothing. I mean,
nothing.
You're just like,
I think it was
like
I guess of all the critics of Cowboy Channel, remember shit like that, or sorry about, but just remember that sort of stuff, because ESPN, thanks a lot. But
well, so here's something else to think about. I feel from the conversations that I've had, the committees and the communities that are putting those rodeos together are not receiving anything from the Cowboy Channel for them to air their rodeo, which that's also not normal. I think that we're going to see probably some change in that too, because committees are having to do some extra things for the Cowboy Channel to televise their rodeo, but they're not really getting anything in return. And so are we going to start seeing production sponsors pop up at some of these rodeos so that they can help cover those expenses? I know in particular at the Casper Rodeo, they had to do some extra stuff. They had to have more power. They had to have more Wi-Fi technology. So, if they are in fact going to start airing more rodeos and televise more rodeos, our committee is going to have to raise more money to make that possible. Or is the Cowboy Channel going to have to start paying, something like that? What's that going to look like moving forward?
I think on that, if you're going to have your rodeo televised, that's something as a committee, you ought to be able to go to your sponsors and say, look, not only is your banner going to be seen by the spectators here, but you're going to be seen on the Cowboy Channel. So instead of a $250 banner, we're going to have 500 or, and I think that, to me, it can be a problem, but I look at it as that could be a great selling point so when I go to Tony's trailer dealership, it's not, everybody knows you, but you're going to be on TV. So I think that could be a real positive, actually.
It'll help the sponsorships of the rodeo, and maybe get somebody that usually just does a $250, small banner. Hey, you know what I'm going to do? What's the biggest banner I can get? $1,000. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, I think those committees are really going to have to work at that and upsell it. I mean, now what we provide for you in return for your sponsorship is up here. Like, we're providing you so much more reach and so many more spaces. I wonder if those committees are going to start taking advantage of that now. I mean, they'll have to. I mean, truly. It's just like what you were talking about, Tony, when that high school kid comes around and asks for the sponsorship. It's
evolving, and we're going to give you more, but we're going to need a little bit more in return,
Yeah.
So I don't. All I know is I think a lot of us too, and like with Vegas and even the Ram Rodeo deal, and I didn't even consider it. Now I kind of feel bad for calling Ram Rodeo out for the $20,000 voucher, but this last 18 months, 2 years has been hard on a lot of people with what's going on. What's one thing that's been great though, rodeo has stayed hooked, stayed true, and the Western way of lifestyle, the never give up, never say die attitude, what they did in Arlington last year, you didn't get back to Vegas, rodeo's thriving and growing. I will tip my hat to Las Vegas events. The money was there. These cowboys and cowgirls got to go run at the full amount of money, where Las Vegas events could have said, hey guys, we had a last year with you guys being gone. Vegas hasn't been open very long. We're not making money. We're going to have to restructure this contract. The payout's going to change. They didn't. I think we're still in the heart of this pandemic that, has been forced down our throats. Not to get on that tangent, but rodeo, it shows a Western lifestyle. The Western way of life is strong. It's resilient. And it was great to see that it looked like it was a pretty normal NFR for all intents and purposes. And I'm sure the people that work the Thomas and Mack and work at the casinos are so glad that the Cowboys are leaving town. They're tired of saying, "Please put your mask
Put your
on.
mask
Please
on.
put your mask
Put your
on.
mask
Please
on."
put your mask on." You know,
One of Reagan's teachers went the first weekend, the same weekend you were there, Jim Boy, and I talked to her like midweek, and she said there was just this dude in the corner sitting there, and he was just on repeat. Put your mask on. Put your mask on. Like knowing full well that nobody is listening to him. Like, but he was doing his job. He was telling people.
at some point, I'd have just recorded it on my phone and hit play.
Yeah. So we do have a pretty good question here from Farron Greeno. Question about production. It seems as though the PRCA continues to be heavy-handed, finding the cowboys for taking too much time, among other things. Do they or will they find contractors for stop going down or fighting the shoot and delaying the production?
I don't know that there is a fine, but good question.
That's
It's
really
a
good.
really good question.
I don't see them finding them for the stock acting up or having, if there's a known animal that they have hell getting out on or whatever, they just won't take them.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if
they
there are
don't even
problems
bring
with-
them.
And if they're
Unless it's a horse as good as Feather Fluffer that you can place on taking your laying down. I mean, that's that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good question though. But
Well, I mean, let's talk about that. What are the other things? I know at the collegiate level, there's a multitude of things that you can be fined for. But I mean, is it similar at the PRCA level? What are we talking about here? Like, what are they being fined for?
Well, the stock contractors.
Well, and the contestants.
Oh,
how much time do we have?
the
Yeah,
contestants
it's
is never ending.
So,
I mean,
so if you wore a black shirt on white shirt night with pearl snaps instead of buttons.
I mean, seriously though, is it like that minute?
From what Luke said when we had him on, he said, they'll find him for anything. I mean, they said Cody Devers, he's out there getting work on his pec, and he had to stop his treatment to go ride in the Grand Entry because they won't take doctor's releases. If you don't ride in the Grand Entry, we're fining you. The man has got one arm. He's trying to compete at the finals. I mean, I don't.
If you're late for Grand Entry practice, like Wasey said there, the list is ridiculous. It's, I remember the day of when Sid Steiner, they find him every night when he'd take a victory lap or whatever for rolling his shirt sleeve up too much,
Yeah, when he took his shirt off and was flexing, and I understand there's rules.
Just puts butts in the seats, like
exactly.
The crowd loves
we're also entertainment. We're also a show, and you want to get new eyeballs on. Hey, there's a guy that rode around with braids in his hair with cornrows and was flexing, and it looked like WWE on a horse. Like, come on, you got to tune in and watch this guy. So
Wasey also says, it's funny to me there's all these bull men trainers and none of their bulls are shoot broke. Poke the bear.
Yeah, there was a little deal the other day. Wasey I seen was in the conversation about the bull halter. I guess there's a halter they put on. There's a bull out there.
Yeah.
And the bullfighters they don't really like it because they might get a hand stuck in there working a rack or something and cause more problems. But, there's different things, they used to put a ring in some of them bulls' noses to tie them in with long ago. But you've heard the stories of, like Perfect Storm, the bull that Vicky Long had years ago, and they'd tie a hind foot in, I think, so he'd stand in there better. You'd have a guy in the chute behind him. They'd open that slide just a little bit, and they'd kind of use a hook and a tie rope, and they'd tie a hind foot back. And there's different tricks that you can do and whatnot. But Wasey said there, you can hang a spur in one of them halters, So, but yeah, them bulls, they're hair triggers, a lot of them,
I mean, that just goes to speak. None of these animals are forced to do this. They're all like not domesticated creatures, for crying out loud. I mean, how much control do you really have? I mean, even the ones that you're competing on in the timed events, it's still an animal that has its own free will, for crying out loud.
But like I said the other day, the contractors can get fined if they're not there ready with the flank on.
This is also a really good question. Follow-up question: after what happened to Haven and Shad in round 9, is it the judge's responsibility to keep things on the production schedule?
I don't know. I think just like the Cowboys have so many things they have to do and are responsible for, I think those judges have to answer to a lot of people. And I don't know that. I mean, the 100%, but I'm sure those guys are, they're getting talked to. I mean, I'm sure every day, hey, this is taking too long. Clean this up, blah, blah, And so the other night, and I've never seen that twice in a perf where, especially at the NFR, and maybe it's happened, but where both those guys' calves were, I mean, that was a tough deal. And I mean, yeah, the judge was enforcing it, but that judge probably didn't write that rule. I mean, I'm guessing
right.
And that's and the calf roping's tough. I mean, keeping it. I mean, just in our deals, trying to keep a set of good calves and them things out there. What would that have been, their third run on those calves? It
was a third run.
So I mean, those calves out there, they're just tired. I mean, that's a lot of it, and they're fed and well cared for and all that. But like you said, at the end of the day, we're dealing with an animal, and that was a tough deal. That was, and I'm sure they'll go back and there'll be a lot of discussion and probably some rule changes and things will be done. But I don't know. There was just a lot of, there's a lot of things I thought that happened at the NFR that I hadn't seen, just like in the team roping when was it Tyler Wade and his partner, they get that head catch off. I've been around rodeo for a long time. Never seen that.
That's crazy.
And
there so many moving parts on that run that, I mean, for Tyler to undally, but for the flagger to not get caught up when he faced and notice he was undally. I mean, there were so many moving parts that had to work out right for that to play out that way, and it did. It was just that was unheard of.
So hold on a second. We've got a lot of comments coming in now. So, so we did talk about this Farron the other day. The next day that it happened, they are there to judge a rodeo. Didn't they delay the rodeo by their action? We talked about that. I mean, the judge was standing right in the middle. Even if he wanted to nod his face, he couldn't have because the judge was standing right there. That's a really good point. Then we have another one from Jeff Lucas. I'm the biggest advocate for quality production in the world, but the fact that Stetson got on 2 with nobody in the crowd is an absolute disgrace. So we couldn't see that. Was everybody gone when he was doing his re-rides?
No, not everybody. We talked about that, and they did show it. I'm glad they showed it. I'm glad they didn't. Yeah. ESPN, what would they have done? They'd went downhill skiing.
We're done.
Some
this
basketball
guy's riding more,
game
but we're done.
Division 4A, but I mean, at least they kept it on. Let us watch it, and like who was we talking to about that? Oh, Garrett Irrigan was on when we talked about that. And he said there's probably still a couple of thousand people in there. It was pretty spacious. And if you wanted to get down closer, I'm pretty sure there was nobody stopping you from walking down the steps and getting on the rail and watching. And the whole Wright family was down there, which that took up the whole railing. But
and then one more from Casey Rising. They give a lot of quick re-rides in the rough stock for horses acting up in the chute. Yeah, that's pretty similar. Do they have an option to kind of wait it out and see if this horse is gonna, if they're gonna be able to go, or do they just
take them a few times? I think they give them enough opportunity to, we can't wait all day long, on trying to get a horse right and keep fighting with them. Mike can tell you this. I mean, if a horse is going to fight a shoot, it's going to take a while. He has one that's got a hair trigger, and he gives him opium before the rodeo. And I'm kidding, but it's funny. Here's the other thing, and Mike can tell you this. It depends on who's getting on him as to whether they can get out on him, period, or how long it might take them to get out on him.
Yeah, because everybody kind of has their style.
And that's, something, everybody's got to realize. And it's just like, when I have a set of walking fresh calves at a rodeo, which I know not everybody likes me to do, but, that to me, that kind of separates it lets the cowboys come to the front because they know how to score those calves and they know how to, you'll see those guys, a young kid that'll have a walking fresh calf and they'll have him crammed to the front and pushing on him as hard. And I try to guide that you ain't going to do that thing any good. And the same way in the horse and the bull riding. I mean, there's guys that they can't get out on anything, I mean, and then there's the cowboys that can get in there. Now, some horses and bulls you just can't get out on, but it makes a difference who's getting on and I don't know that I'm answering that question. I'm giving it a good enough answer, but it's a tough one to answer because, and I think at the end of the day, and I see this a lot is, and I've been asked to judge some events and I have a whole new respect for that. There's probably somebody out there that is, but these guys aren't against you. I mean, they've got a job to do. They've been selected to do a job. And, nobody wants to give a bad flag. We're all quick to criticize a bad flag or a low score or whatever. But, that's at the end of the day, we're talking about a man's opinion, what he's seeing right there. I just and it's never going to be perfect. It's a human element. I mean, until we go to, mechanical hazers and, whatever. I mean, there's always going to be something in this sport. And I think that's what makes it so, so unique. And there's always going to be, there's been calls that have cost gold buckles. I mean, there's, and nobody did it on purpose. I'm not saying it doesn't happen somewhere in some shady rodeo. There's an idiot judge but for the most part, these guys are like officials. They're trying, and I think there's always going to be room to improve. But at the end of the day, boys, it's pretty dang good this year.
I know a few years ago, George Gibbs and maybe a few others went to some big officiating seminar or something that had officials from about every sport there is, I guess. And they were talking about how they had so much respect for like an NFL referee, but the NFL guys were giving our PRCA judges kudos because they have to know so many different events.
Yeah.
And, with football, whatever position you are on the field, you're only watching one thing, And
if you're the line judge, if you're the back judge, you just you focus on that area. Yeah. That's it. And rodeo, hey, okay, you need to know 3 stock events that have different riding styles. Score them. Here's 4 timed events. So that's
a good point. That's a really good point. So we do have some more comments. Farron comes back with the production aspect of getting everyone back to the casino is having a negative impact on contestants, fans, and viewers. Isn't this rodeo for contestants and the fans and the viewers? We've talked about this a little bit. I think this is all some of it is part of the contract.
Yeah. Well, like you say, Las Vegas Events is the rodeo committee. And when they're putting up the $10 million that they're giving away, the way they get that $10 million, the way they get that money to give is they got to get people in those casinos, in and out, in those restaurants, into those shows, gambling. And so it's that fine line. It's that fine line. It is for the fans. It is for the contestants. It is for the spectators. But, those Cowboys
Making
like
all
running
this
at
together.
27,000 a night and winning 70,000 after a 10-head average win. To do that, you've got to make sure that money's there. So, I mean, it's such a fine line and a balancing act, and I get it, but I mean this is going to lead me. That question kind of leads me down to this. We talked about breakaway roping, wanting to see it there. I was really disappointed they did not have Sawyer Gilbert walk on stage last night to receive her saddle and buckle with the other world champions. And somebody made a comment when I posted it on Facebook. Well, the steer roper's not there. The steer roping didn't go on in Vegas during the same week. So
yeah, but the same thing. It's not like they could do it there also.
Yeah.
But I mean, so the other thing too is, and you could maybe ask Luke about this, like how much of those things are they willing, as a contestant, are they willing to, I don't want to say put up with, but like, I'm going to assume that they're willing to make some sacrifices and willing to give a little and compromise a little because they're back in Vegas, because they can win so much money.
Well, I think that's it. Like I say, it's, and I don't want to talk to Luke on here because it'd take him forever to just try to turn on a computer or something and join us. But no, I think, like I said, it's man, they got all these rules. They can fine us for this, and this. I've got to be here, got to do that. But then again, I get to run at 27,000 tonight. I get to run at 70,000 to win the average. So I've rodeoed all year long, for trying to win 5,000, trying to win 10,000 a weekend, and I can win 27,000, a night, 270,000 just in go round opportunity money. So they're willing to probably put up with a lot. In my opinion.
Absolutely. So Bert Davis says it was 70 degrees for the first 2 weeks the livestock were in Vegas. The weather changed to wind and cold. Does that affect the performance of the animal?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can bet Mike wasn't knocking down their door wanting to take a set of calves out there. He's still making payments on a set of calves that he took to Colby's college rodeo about 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I would say that the weather impacts all of the animals. I mean, you can bet that the timed event cowboys and cowgirls were taking care of their animals differently during that weather also. So it definitely plays into it.
I happen to know of a great product that is excellent for animals during weather change. I don't know if we're allowed to bring up sponsors like Pro Animal Health or not. So let me know if I can't say Cadillac.
You cut out there. What was it? I didn't hear.
Definitely. Please do.
Oh, but no, that the weather and then, and I would always, think about the horses, the bucking horses and bulls that come out of the north versus the south, or the calf roping horses that come out of the, I mean, it's going to play a, Clayton Haas's, wasn't did his Hazen horse colic or tie up? I mean, I would bet that was weather related as much as anything. So,
and you could tell this year, I was telling my wife watching the Grand Entry and watching the barrel racers walk up, the alley with their helpers for the first 7 days. I mean, people were in just regular jackets or no jackets carrying Grand Entry. Because we've seen for 10 nights where they're bundled up. They look like the Abominable Snowman coming in there for the Grand Entry because it's cold. But then 2 nights ago, my wife goes, look, people are wearing gloves in the Grand Entry. They're, coming up the alley. They're bundled up. Their helpers are bundled up for the barrel race. So you could tell the weather had swathed on them.
So we have another question from Jerry Wilkinson. Why don't they put the steer roping finals in Vegas at one of the other venues? Why don't they? There's so many different venues going on now. I mean, it used to be there wasn't anywhere to go, and now there's so many different arenas and so many different events. Like, why don't?
Steer roping's only legal. It's only legal in like 3 states. I think Wyoming, Kansas, and Texas.
So I'm going to play dumb here. Where are the steer roping finals held and when?
they're in Mulvane, Kansas in November at the casino, which is tied in with which they are getting some money from Las Vegas events.
Yeah.
To host it. And I was just doing a little research, along with everything else, and not that it's equal money, but Cole Patterson won, $190,000 this year, won $85,000 at the finals. But Steer Open is an acquired taste, and I'm a fan, but it's not for everybody, and I don't think they'd have a hard time with it in Vegas.
Yeah, very hard time.
There might be too many other faces watching at that level.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, I'd like to see it become more of a part of it, but that does make sense why they wouldn't make that move. Casey Rising said they might have trouble getting Rocky Patterson out of Vegas.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, that's funny.
Great questions, you guys. Really good interaction today. With that. Well, is there anything else you guys think that the world needs to know right now about rodeo?
I think rodeo's in a good spot. I think it was great to be back in Vegas. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, the Cowboy Channel, I mean, there's always stuff to work on, but I think it's wonderful that we can get to watch a rodeo. And, hey, if you missed any of it, they're going to start the replay Monday. They really put that out there.
Well, and you can stream it. I mean, if you're watching on your phone, you can just rewatch every round.
I think I'm stuck with Hallmark movies now for the next, 15 days. And
that's where I'm going.
That's what my wife said, it's Hallmark movie time now at night. I'm like, Die Hard? She goes, Hallmark is like, Die Hard, it's a Christmas movie. And so
I know my kids are mad. We haven't watched Home Alone once yet.
Oh, see, there you go.
20 times.
Well, I have all the picnic shows recorded, and I got to go back and catch up on the fashion segment so I can see what I need to change.
Wasey's sending you a care package.
Thank you, because I'm going to be Hallmark movied out, and I mean, I just for one time on the Hallmark movie, I'd like to see where the guy doesn't get the girl and Christmas is ruined, and just kind of throw a twist in there every now and then.
City girl goes to country, falls in love, stays.
Can you imagine the people that's been out there, though, the last 2 weeks? I mean, I would come home and just veg out for a week,
Yes. That's what I was just telling Josh this morning, man. Like, I'm tired after this and working. I don't know that I could survive 2 weeks in Vegas.
Oh, but we can give it a shot. I mean,
I'm sure I could give us a shot. Try.
And if you're on your way home from Vegas listening, we're already home. Ha
ha. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll be right back on my couch here in a few minutes.
Flint was really good about rubbing that in everybody's face every night, the buckle presentation. And if you're watching, we're here and you're not.
Well, Flint, guess what? If you're watching, which I doubt, we're home and you're still in Vegas. Ha ha.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right, you guys. Thank you so much for coming on, Mike. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your commentary. And we actually usually learn something. I usually learn something every day. So,
well, thanks for having me on. This is a neat deal. I hope this deal just continues to grow. You guys are doing a good job. It's entertaining, and then at the end of the day, if you can entertain them and then educate them too. I mean, that was, and my closing comment on the rodeo was one for the ages. And a shout out to all the personnel. I mean,
yes.
The bullfighters were great. Hearts out to Dusty. The pickup men. I mean, they mention them. But boy, they did a great job. I mean, for what you could see, and then just everybody from the hundreds of guys out there in blue vests and I mean, that is a massive undertaking, and they've got a great crew. And I thought it was just great. So.
Yeah, good rodeo as usual.
Great rodeo.
All right. Jim Boy, anything else you would like to add?
It ranks right up there with what you'd see in the Horse Palace right here in Garden City, April 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
1 and 1A, just stack them. Just stack them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I did the other day when I was talking about people getting out of the chute and whatnot. So Seth Glaus, who had already been to the NFR as a contestant, was riding here at my rodeo one year. I think he went to school at Panhandle, and so they're riding saddle broncs, and so I was, generally I'm kind of down there around the chutes, kind of hanging out. When there's a few left, I was going to head to the other end, make sure we have the first 3 bulldogging steers loaded, make sure everything's ready for the bulldogging. And so I kind of started heading down the arena, and somebody caught me. Anyhow, I turned around. Well, he's still in the chute. So I head back down there, and I informed him. I said, "Hey, we're not at the NFR. We're at Garden City's college rodeo. Let's go. Quit messing around in there and get out of there." So I didn't yell at him, but it's funny, and I can tell you, like the production, I can't imagine. Everybody's yelling. Everybody's they've kind of referred to Tom yelling at them guys, "Get out of there, let's go!" But just if you've never been in that aspect of a production, you have no idea. I mean, I don't care if it is. Like, I threw a hot shot at a kid in my practice pen one day because he did something wrong on handling an animal. And it just puts you in that mode. Everybody hates Benny during a production. After the rodeo, you're pretty good buddies, and before the rodeo again. But like Mike can tell you, like me and him, we kind of went at it before because he has his buck order, and that's the Bible, and if something happens, we got to change that, then everything's thrown off in the production. But it's a lot of people have no idea how much goes into, and like them contractors, when they turn them animals in, they want them in a particular chute out there. They're not just loading them. However, I mean, when they turn them in, they have options of left front, left back, right, whatever, middle. And so someone has to figure out how to get them animals placed in a buck order in the chutes where it keeps rolling, where you're not waiting, and to where you're looking the best guy or the top guy at the end. So there's a lot to sit down and kind of figure out. And
a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have near the understanding of how much goes into that. So.
For sure.
Back at the 4-H rodeo in 1974, we just run them all in the chute and just pick your horse and go.
There's contractors. You'll go to rodeos and they'll there might be 5 bareback riders. They load 6 horses and they load the re-ride horse.
He's the first one. Yeah. All right.
So, we'll just kind of work our way around that re-ride horse, and then this is like Mike's deal. Even at his rodeos, he hardly ever will spill a re-ride horse. He hates sending the extra breakaway calf down the arena. We just kind of hold him back. Or a lot of people, I don't know where we was at one time. We send 30 head of calves down the arena. I'm like, let's do a production. I'm like, So anyhow, all right. Thanks, you guys.
Well, before I let you guys go, I want to let you know I got a message from Con and Sharon Williams this morning.
Oh, yeah. They used my name.
They did pick a name. They took some ideas from the show and some conversation from our show also, and they're actually going to go with Poncho, which leaves the door wide open for a lefty. So that will be coming, and I'll post those once we get those pictures, and I'll get that up.
And if anybody has any lyrics to add to my song, Bucking Horses in the Dark,
I am actually, honestly, I'm writing a poem. I'm working on it, and
stay tuned. It's coming.
Yeah, it's going to be epic, legendary.
We'll send that over to Chancey and Austin, see which one wants to buy it.
Exactly. We're going to get our production budget up. We're going to start selling songs.
Yeah, and now we've become also a music studio. What can we do?
We're branching out, diversifying.
Yeah. Wasey says, good job, people. Enjoyed it. I've got lots of comments, good content, good people. So I'm sure we will be back for season 3. Location to be determined, right? Look at Jim Boy. He's like, oh my gosh. Don't even think about that yet. Don't even think about that yet.
300. You got 355 days to have to worry about it.
Yeah, let's not do that yet. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys coming on here. I appreciate you guys doing this on Bullfrog Creatives. I know at this point y'all can go anywhere and have this broadcast. So I appreciate you using me to do it. Mike, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one,
All right,
Mike.
you guys. We will. I'll be in touch with you guys. I'm sure we'll be in contact. So thank you guys so much. Have a good Christmas and a happy New Year.
You too, Heidi. And you know what? Thank you guys for having me on as part of the team. I truly enjoyed it. Even though dealing with my issues with this cold that I have, but like I said, when you have this much positivity in you, you've just got to just roll with it anyways. But
yeah,
it's
we're gonna
been a blast. What's that?
We're gonna dock your pay for missing that one day.
I'm sorry. Oh, damn it.
Yeah. Yep, we're gonna.
All right, checks in the mail. It'll be to you guys next week.
Yeah.
But no, and Heidi, thank you for having the platform to host it. It's been awesome. So I've really enjoyed it. And as I said, I hope the people that are watching are getting something out of it. I mean, we have a good time, but I think we do bring some valid information to it and some insight that they're not going to get just on the Cowboy Channel or on regular social media. So
yeah, well, based on the amount of comments that just rolled in, excellent, thanks, keep it up, see you next year. I think everybody's really enjoying it. So
that's awesome.
I don't know if they enjoy it as much as we do.
Oh, that's perfect. So but hey, you guys have a great Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll be talking to you guys.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.
See ya.
All right, you guys, thank you so much. Again, my name is Heidi Foy. I am the creator of opportunities here at Bullfrog Creatives. Thank you for tuning in to our season 2 of the NFR Hangover. I'll give a shout out real quick to Cinch Jeans and Shirts, Lead Don't Follow, and of course, Con Williams Studio, conwilliams.com. And it has been a long 10 days. I don't even know how many days it's been, but it's been fun. So we will catch you guys next year.
Perfection almost looks easy. But it isn't. Here's to those who go the distance.